Roll call, Dr. Bombard, Dr. Broderick, Dr. Daly.
Here.
Thank you. Dr. George.
Here.
Thank you. Dr. Gerling. Here. Thank you. Dr. Katz.
Here.
Thank you. Dr. Mulvey. Dr. Pond.
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Starr. Dr. Williams. Here. Dr. Richards. Patty Bashaw.
Here.
And Tammy Trout. Okay. We have 6 present, so we do have a quorum.
All right, so I'm taking the chair today. Tiff is unable to make it, so I'm gonna try to muddle my way through this. So you guys just help me out on to what we do next. We'll just go through the agenda. See, I have that pulled up.
Review the minutes and approval of last
Yeah,
meeting's minutes.
yeah. So does anybody have any issues with the previous minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, one motion to approve. Anybody second?
I'll second.
All right. And all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All right. Previous meeting, minutes accepted. New docs for approval of REMAC.
I don't think either of them are in attendance, which is what we're waiting on, so we can.
All right, should we discuss their credentials while they're out of the room then? I mean,
Yeah, this is
They're not
perfect time
here.
to discuss,
this would be a good time.
right?
Here's Dr. Rogers.
He's been around here for a while. I don't think I've worked with him more than maybe a shift, so I don't know him very well, but I'm sure there's lots of other people here with experience with him. You worked with him.
Yeah, I've worked with him.
Yeah.
He's an outstanding ER doctor.
Mhm.
And no problem recommending him to the committee.
Okay. Does anybody have any reservations about Dr. Rogers? If not, I think we can comfortably move on.
Michael, you're still on mute.
Yeah, I lost it, and I'm trying to move back and forth between the drive where the sheets are. I have no problem with him and his resume, and he looks like he should, or his CV looks like he should be very good. He was on REMAC years ago because I spoke with him recently, this beginning in December. But here's the issue. I think these guys need to show up. I actually invited them to be at this meeting because one of the issues is who's going to take over all of the Tri-Lakes area, which apparently there are no docs willing to do that except for me. And I called him up as the now Saranac Lake ED, AMC ED director and said, hey, you know, we got a Tri-Lakes committee that's been defunct for 2 years. We've got every single ambulance in the area that the AMC's ED director had years ago, who has nobody, who has actually showed up to a single REMAC meeting. The hospital, in my understanding, and correct me, John, if I'm wrong, our bylaws, or actually not the bylaws, New York State's REMAC recommendation, and if you, and I don't know if it's Remsco's bylaws or our bylaws, but if you look, it basically says that every general hospital should have a representative on this committee. And I don't know if that's a doc or not, but somebody's supposed to be here from the local hospitals. So I said to him, listen, you know, as far as I'm concerned, this falls on you. and he says, well, I'm just an interim guy and I'm working 1 day a week. And, I can't take all these ambulances. And I think as a committee, we need to have a conversation that, one, if you're going to do this, you take those ambulances and you show up at the REMAC meetings. And I think we should have a conversation with the hospital that they have a responsibility to do this, because I'm going to bring it right back to this committee in QA when we get to that point.
Yeah. No, I think,
That's a fair issue.
yeah, I don't see any issue with that. So, so then what, I guess the question is, what's the next step is, I guess we have to make sure Eric actually comes, or, does he have a time frame? He says he's interim. Is there a time frame that he's looking at? I mean, is this a year or 2 years or just?
It sounded like months to me, actually.
No.
Because
All
they
right,
were
well-
looking for somebody more permanent. Now, I'll give you a short-term solution. I'll be glad to call them up and have a conversation and say, listen, we all approve you. Because I think this is what the chair of REMAC should be doing. We're going to approve you, but we expect you to be at the next meeting. And, here's the ambulances that need a medical director. So sort it out somehow.
Yeah, perhaps with that position should come the ambulances, but, unfortunately, I don't get those, make those decisions. Sounds reasonable enough, though. So, yeah, I guess if you or Tiff or both of you want to try to work that angle, I think that's reasonable until we have maybe a better long-term solution from them. So, do we want to vote on that now or wait till he's here, or what do we want to do?
I think it's reasonable to vote on him now.
Yeah.
We don't need his presence. He's submitted his own
Okay.
application here, so we can approve him, and then he's able to attend the next meeting as a REMAC member, and so should then take the responsibilities of being a REMAC member.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, all right, then, do we want to vote independently or review the other one and vote jointly? Should we just do Eric for now?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve Eric.
All right,
I'll second that.
okay, all in favor? Say aye, aye.
I
Aye.
will also have a conversation with him with regard to his responsibilities to come to the next meeting and ambulances.
Any opposed? I don't hear any
As long,
votes.
as long as that's agreed upon by the REMAC members, that conversation should take place from REMAC, or somebody else can do it.
Meaning, are you asking the group to give you the okay to have that conversation? Yeah, I think that's
Yep.
fine. Yeah. Of course.
Okay,
All right, so I guess Eric has been approved by the REMAC. So next is Dr. DeUrso.
Exact. If you guys hear the alarms go off, don't worry, it's just they're working on the sprinkler system, and I'll sign them as soon as it goes off.
Let's go.
Yeah.
so is he going to take over ambulances in CVPH or in Malone? Or where is he going to be from?
I don't know his agency plan.
I
I believe it was gonna be Clayton County agencies.
Yeah, I don't believe it's Malone nor CVPH. It's somewhere else.
Well, I think that it's important that if he's going to be on REMAC, we know what and who he's representing.
All right, do we want to hold our approval until we get a clarification on which agencies he's overseeing and what region he's gonna be in?
That would be my motion.
Okay. Do we need to approve that motion? I don't think we need to do anything right now. We can just take it to the next meeting.
Yeah, I think somebody needs to send him an email,
Yeah.
text, or pick the phone up.
Yeah, Jonathan, maybe you could just help us out in clarifying that before we vote on it.
Yep, I
I
can
know
reach
it-
out to him this week.
Yeah, he's
Awesome.
working clinically at this moment. I signed out to him
Okay.
this morning.
He seems well qualified. We just need to get
Yeah.
the details. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's no,
Okay.
nobody has any other concerns on him that we need to be aware of then?
Doesn't appear to.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to the next point. Tiff was supposed to give us a report on med standards, so unless somebody can step in for her, we can push that to the next meeting.
I can give you a quick update. There was no
Okay.
CMAC or Med Standards meeting because they didn't have a quorum.
Okay,
So the new protocols didn't get approved. They're gonna get approved hopefully at the February meeting. But it's given them more time to get the education out that, or put together that will go out with the protocols.
SEMSCO report. Was that on Tiff as well?
Tiff or Tammy. Tammy was there, but she's not here. I was there for most of it. The emergency education regs have now been declared not an emergency because the state took so long to get them together and put them out. So now they are out in public comment, with hopes of being able to vote on them before the end of the year. The safety regulations, are going through the normal regulatory process, so they probably, any changes to those won't come out until sometime next year. There was extensive talk about sunsetting the critical care level again. And I believe a survey went out from the state today, for public comment on the sunsetting of the critical care. I think it came out while I was driving up here, so I have
It
not.
did, Jonathan. I just posted it on our website.
Now, can you explain that to me? Because I thought the whole AEMT paramedic bridge thing was to sunset the critical care.
It is, but they're seeing lower and lower enrollment in the program to where it's not really cost prohibitive to do it. While there still is a substantial number, especially on the Mountain Lakes region of CCs that are running. It also affects the New York City area, so they're kind of leading the charge on deciding what the conversation will be. I think Patty has her hand.
So, yeah, so I did look at the survey earlier today. And maybe Jonathan, you can send it out to everybody. I think it's important that we voice our concerns a little bit about them sunsetting it. It looks like it'll sunset in 2027. If I'm reading it correctly, the survey basically asks, do you support it or not? How will it impact your area? And my issue here in Essex County is if it does, if we'll lose a good handful of experienced critical cares that will be either they need to bridge up or drop down to the AEMT level. So for an example, if you have a transport agency, your person needs to bridge up, which is a cost. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, it runs about a year-ish to get through all that. Plus you have to be able to find a place to get your paramedic skills tested and approved that you didn't have at the level of the critical care. So I really encourage folks to take that survey. I understand why they're doing it. Money is one of the issues with why they're doing it, but it'd be interesting to know, Jonathan, if we could get the number of how many critical cares we do have in our region, just to show the docs the impact it would have.
So the state did do a survey on that in a study. I can say North Country's vice chair asked for it, and the state told him you can't have it, but ask the program agency because we can share it with them. So I asked for it for both regions and have not gotten it. And I followed up with it last week, and still have not gotten it. So as soon as I get it, I will gladly share it out with everybody.
Do you guys
We
know
can-
how many we have online in our region? That should be something that you're keeping track of, right?
Yes.
That's what I was just about to say. We can pull a report and we can tell you who we have for online in the region. But state certified wise, we wouldn't be able to tell you. But yeah, I can pull a report and send that out to everybody. I'll do all our techs, AEMT, CC, and
It's over
paramedics.
100. I know it's over 100 for the Mountain Lakes region of critical cares.
Yeah,
Whether those are
so that's a
active
pretty
critical cares or not, that's the difference.
that's a pretty
Yeah, it's,
significant number.
A lot, yeah, we have, Mountain Lakes has a large number of critical cares.
So why haven't they bridged then? You said it takes a year. Is that, what kind of year process is that? A year of like
Online class.
online? So,
And then some hands-on
this is-
skills, the bridge.
So
from,
I
yeah.
actually did the Northwell Bridge. This is Amanda from the program agency. I actually did the Northwell Bridge program. That is how I got my paramedic card, and it was all online. I didn't have to do any
Right, but you-
like hands-on stuff or ride time.
But you had to be tested, man, you had to be tested out on skills that you didn't have to be tested out as a critical care, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so that needs to happen. There is a cost. I'm gonna speak personally to my reasoning. And I know, because I've asked a bunch of the critical cares that are around here, we are older, so it's like me, it's the Matt Watts, it's the Patty Cooks around here who have been doing this for a very long time. And don't know if we want to put the energy, so to speak, into stepping up to the paramedic program. Basically, because I can do almost everything that a paramedic can do, not everything, but almost, at this level that I currently carry. That's, I mean, it's not just like, oh, go get your bridge and get your paramedic done. It's okay if you're, I just think there's a lot of work and energy to go to that next level. When I've been holding this level for like 20 some odd years. Why should I go up to the next level?
I got to tell you that when this whole thing came up, this was one of my concerns. I mean, we potentially could lose 50 or, worst case scenario, 100 techs out of the North Country. That'd be a disaster. All these things are nice that we and the state and everybody else thinks that these people should do, but it just adds more and more time. And unless you're a full-time EMS worker with downtime at work because there's no runs, this becomes time out of your life. I have a concern. I mean, I just think this stuff gets piled on all the time. It gets piled on to me all the time. Here, take this. You got to take this required 5 hours thing. It's insane. And, some third party makes it up without actually realizing that, 10 different places are making this up.
Well, and hopefully too, once this, the survey has already gone out, we're gonna blast it out too. These critical cares will also push back to the state. Because we can only push back so much and the state sometimes just blatantly ignores us. But if it's coming from the actual providers, maybe they'll listen. Hopefully they'll listen.
and the question is not to train new CCs, right? Critical cares, it's to just continue the ones we have.
Correct, they've been
Right.
doing original.
Yeah. Yeah, so, okay.
Amanda,
And
what
they
was the
would all
cost?
be, at the expiration date too, their plan is to drop them all down to the AEMT level. So they would still be able to do the IVs, that sort of a thing. They wouldn't just be a basic EMT, but that's their plan.
Amanda, what was the cost of you taking the bridge course?
I got lucky. My agency actually paid for it, but I believe it was in the ballpark of about $2,000.
Yeah, so again, pretty prohibitive. And if you look at some of the transport agencies, so like the Lamoille's is what I'll use for my county. These folks are able to take transfers out of E-Town Hospital, where an AEMT would not be able to take that level. So, again, it's more than just the provider, it will be the hospital impact as well.
I think it's just insane that we add on more work, $2,000 in cost, and end up shooting ourselves in the foot all in one move. Not we, but somebody. I think we should tell the state that's, if you're a volunteer, that's prohibitive in my, that I'd say forget it.
Well, and that's the thing too. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Dr. A lot of these people who are still CCs, most of them work a second career somewhere else. We'll use Tammy Trombley as an example. She's a CC. She works full-time for Albany Med. She doesn't have time to go and sit through the bridge program on top of all of that and still live a life outside.
I think you should send a formal, I think we should agree to send a formal letter that this is not productive for our region. I don't know about where you got all paid systems, and but to me, techs, how many techs do we have total in there? What percent is this? That's huge.
Sorry, I'm just writing myself a note so I can make sure I do that.
My feeling is REMAC should just say this is a huge detriment to our area. This needs to get rethought. I mean,
Well,
think about it. Think about it,
impression-
Doc. How many of you would want to get told, oh, by the way, how long does a bridge course take?
Year-ish.
A year. So let's just say, okay, we all have to add a year and $2,000 and our time on this. I think that's just totally prohibitive.
So, and for how long? Sorry, Michael, I didn't know you were first.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So how long? Because I mean, I've been around for a while, but I haven't had opportunities to formally, I've heard rumors for how long the transition's been recommended and that the bridge course has been available. How long was that, like, estimated time period?
Oh, geez. I'm gonna say 3 or 4 years now, right, Jonathan?
I would say at least that long that they've not done the recertification or held any new classes for the CC.
Yeah, I think I agree. We need to be sure that we give opportunities and that those opportunities are realistic and that we're not, I think somebody referenced cutting our own legs off. At the same time, our national scope of practice, New York is one of the latest adopters to following a national scope, a standard scope of our 3 levels. And I do think that there is something to stay for that standardization. And at some point, really, if it's prohibitive for people to bump up to a paramedic, that is also telling, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with our volunteers, and there's nothing wrong with those that maybe can't keep up with that scope of practice potentially, or can't make the bump up to paramedicine. It's not that we're trying to knock them that much, but at the same time, this level is not seen as kind of a national standard, and trying to set that, once again, when it comes to system-wise, however you personally feel about it, at some point, if that's that prohibitive that you can't make that kind of course happen, then at the same time, maybe it is time for us to adopt that from a national standpoint, that maybe an AMT is the appropriate level for those individuals. And I'm not trying to knock any one person. I'm just saying that this is kind of a trend. And I do think that at some point it is realistic that this happens. But I agree, maybe we need to give more time, more opportunity for those individuals to decide where they fall on that line. But just once again, supporting the overall eventual idea of this.
I agree. I thought when it was originally all brought up and discussed at the state level, that they were just basically gonna let them age out. Either upgrade, downgrade, or age out.
That's what I thought as well.
I kind of figured it was gonna be like a decade plus and then kind of more discussion from there. So I always thought it was gonna, for some reason in my head, I thought, and once again, not from any reputable source, that it was a 10-year plan. And I literally, that was just through the rumor mill. So I wasn't sure what the exact timeframes were gonna be, but I do think that there should be a substantial timeframe. But overall, long term, I do think it'll probably be in line with national standards and best practices.
Any more
Yeah, I think the
discussion?
No, just the prohibitive thing right now is, I don't know, the cost. I mean, $2,000, that's a lot of money. So, I would like to see everybody on the same national standard, but at the same time, I understand, I don't want to pay $2,000 for anything right now either. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't do anything about that, but it does seem, it's an onerous asking to ask people to shell out that kind of money and not offer any assistance.
Yeah, and I think that would be another great opportunity. Like if we are going to send something formally to say, more time for especially our more rural regions to make this transition, that's a major impact. And second of all, is there opportunities to apply for scholarships? I think for those of us on the Vermont side as well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe state of Vermont is now offering scholarships, like grant positions for upwards of $7,000 towards paramedic courses, which is covering a lot of the cost of a lot of these courses to go get your paramedic. So maybe opportunities to see if there's a chance that they can find support on a scholarly basis to help for those that the dollars and cents are prohibitive. We can try to recommend opportunities to you want to make this transition, great, help financially support those that otherwise can't make that transition secondary to that. I wonder if there's opportunities there.
Well, the state would rather hire 25 more new employees than invest money into manpower and workforce.
No.
It's funny. We almost have the opposite problem in certain states. You have like 4 people at the state office, and
Why don't we get this moving? I mean, I do think some sort of response from us to the state is appropriate, incorporating both, the impact it'll have on our rural agencies in potentially losing a significant amount of providers. And additionally, the cost to the providers is pretty steep. So, there might be a significant amount of that proportion of providers that we may lose who would be willing to step up if some sort of, compensation was offered, just to make the cost less to them, whether it's time or financial. So, I think drafting something to send back to the state would be very appropriate. I don't know who that's going to come from, Jonathan or somebody else in the office.
It's certainly best to come from Dr. Bombard, but I can work with her on it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So we'll move on. That was a SEMSCO, DOH.
They're not here, but
Okay.
I can give a little update on that too. So the state is hiring a new field rep because Mary is no longer working for Bureau of EMS. She's in the Surge Ops or Surge and Flex Ops now. But they're looking to realign kind of how the regions are for their out of their office. So Ed Major is now overseeing, he's the main deputy chief that is going to oversee both the North Country and Mountain Lakes regions. But they're going to be hiring I think 2 field officers that will be working out of Watertown and I think Plattsburgh that will cover the 8-county region that we cover as well. because they recognize that, we don't necessarily, on the Mountain Lake side, fit into what the Remo region or the Albany area has going on. Much like the North Country doesn't really fit into what Syracuse or places south have going on. So giving us our own rep, we will be a little bit more in tune to our issues and details up here. So we'll see if they ever hire anybody.
All right. Okay, where are we on that? So program agency reports.
Yep, give me 2 seconds. Yeah. There. So RTAC was held back in September. There hasn't been a meeting since. There is a meeting gonna be this Friday in Syracuse. Issues with receiving PCRs, but we think that is starting to resolve itself. We're finding that, so the state changed the rules, which we should not be surprised about, that if an agency hands off a patient to Air Medical, they still need to try to document where that patient is going, what facility, so that the receiving facility receives that first patient contact PCR. It's kind of a work in progress, but with the new schematron that will be rolling out and going live by June or end of June, I think this problem will resolve itself and charts will be getting to where they're supposed to go. Zach and I have been working on a lot of the education on this for the state. And now we're in the point where we've just gotta, it's been approved by the state, we've just gotta record it and do all the voiceovers. Just so you're aware, with the Mountain Lakes Regional Council, so the REMSCO still does not have a contract with the state. Those are the items that we're still waiting on, to get from the regional council. Storm is working on those, but we do not have them yet. We're trying. I'm trying to help get them through this, but it's quite the daunting task. So new policy statements that were released. Zach, are these old?
Yeah, are you in the, I'm just gonna say, are you in the? You're in the template one, go to the one that has the January 22 date.
Sorry. Zach, can you just pull it up?
Yep.
I can't. Oh, got it. Sorry, everybody.
Did you get it?
Yep.
Or do I need it?
All right, there we go. So new policies for hospitals. So there's a new MOLST training that's been posted by the state and policy that's been pushed out to agencies. We're still continuing to work on the EPCR policies and the revamp of 1202 and 1203, which will basically be the new requirements that will back up legislation and the regulations, that the state is putting forward regarding documentation. So hopefully that will start to come out soon. We'll see then the light at the end of that tunnel. The schematron updates, so that's been pushed out to software vendors with the implementation date of July 1st. We've gotten to test it a little bit. It's a reduction of data requirements by over 25%. So we're going from close to 1,000 data points down to closer to 500, 400 to 500. They've moved it back to where they're going off of what the NEMSIS requirements are with a few additional things versus throwing a dictionary at everything and saying we want it all. Because the pendulum has swung too far. We were getting tons of data, but it was garbage data. So hopefully this will swing things back around. Pad usage report was received by the DEC, from the DEC for Saranac Lake. No new applications or updates, and we've gotten our regular quarterly reports that have been sent out and received. BLS iGel study applicants, Champlain EMS has now joined the iGel project. Training and ed, we have the learning management system. That's where the EPCR documentation trainings are all going to be posted on the regional LMS sites. If there's anything that you're seeing that you'd like to see us focus in on, we are more than happy to do that. We're actually going to start a micro series on A and P at the BLS level to give a little bit more clarity. There'll be little 15-minute videos of each section. So hoping to pick up a little traction on that. DOH courses coming up. So Clinton County or Clinton Community College, an original and refresher starting at 1:30. North Country Community College, they're going to have an CFR original in Essex County, EMT original and refresher in Essex County, EMT original in Saranac Lake, and an AEMT alone. Mohawk Valley, or I'm sorry, UVMHN, the Elizabethtown AEMT and paramedic are up and running, and Hamilton County EMS has an original and refresher coming starting in February. So the CQI initiative, we've talked about that, and the information that we get from it will be shared with the agencies, their medical directors, and the county coordinators with the approval from the agency and medical. Agency updates, I'll let Zach do the talking here.
So all pretty standard. The only thing that's really of concern, Westport, they had dropped down from I believe they're at the critical care level down to AEMT, and that was right after our last meeting, and that was for their medical director, Dr. Mulvey. They were up for renewal, which we did not receive any materials from them, so we can work with them. Otherwise, the other agencies, we received their materials. They should be they were in the meeting drive folder. The other one, Skeensboro, they're looking for just a 1-year renewal versus a 2-year renewal. So Skeensboro and Westport, we can handle separately. The others, we could probably handle all together.
I think there was was there an issue with Skeensboro? I know they're.
Skeensboro, so yeah, we're an over-needed and under-resourced agency that are trying hard to improve things, and they're just requesting a little bit of time to get their affairs in order. Having said that, they do a ton of good work. They did about 1,000 calls over a year, and about 100 of those go out to us. All right, so they're still 90% call rate and doing well from that perspective, but they're looking to establish better contracts with the municipalities in the area financially. They've got a recruiting program up and going at the moment, just trying to get more bodies on board. I mean, it's a story of our lives. So they've got some good agendas and programs in place to try and improve their issues. But having said that, they're kind of requesting a 1-year sort of partial to give themselves some time to get their ducks aligned. So acting responsibly and doing the right thing, I'm happy to submit that for approval.
All right. So do we need to approve these agencies all at once except for Westport, or?
I would do Skeensboro and Westport separate.
Okay.
A 1 year for Skeensboro and whatever everyone else wants to decide for Westport.
Yeah.
And then the other agencies can just be the 2-year regular renewals.
So as far as for my agencies, Easton and Fort Edward, there were no issues. TIF is not here, so should we wait to renew hers until she's here to?
Technically, their signatures on that form is the forwarded motion, so it's up to you guys, I guess, if we second. And
I'm okay. I mean, I don't have any issues with my agencies or hers. I'm happy just to do all of them except for Skeensboro, which we'll do separately, and Westport, which will defer. Anybody have any concerns with that?
I don't think we should do any that the docs aren't there for, because that would set kind of a precedent that we might not want in the future. You know, if Tiffany had called somebody and said, hey, these ambulances are fine, approve them when they're there, you know, act as my proxy, that's one thing. But otherwise, I think they should just be put on hold till our next meeting when she's present.
So that would mean leaving off all of Dr. Mulvey's, Dr. Bombard's, Dr. George's. Right?
So are we granting
Exactly.
extensions or are we deferring and letting them expire? I think we have to at least grant them extensions.
No, I mean, grant them extensions till they're approved.
Yeah. All right, so the ones that we'll approve now in our meeting are Easton Greenwich, which is mine. And then Fort Edward, which is mine. The rest will get deferments. Then
Sorry,
we'll
what
do
was the-
Skeensboro. But
What's the hold up to the other ones that for approval? Because I'm Doug George. I'm right here.
oh,
So EMT of CPH
sorry,
submitted, correct?
no, sorry,
That's fine.
Sorry,
Okay. I was like,
that was
maybe
my
I missed
fault.
something.
So sorry, we'll do Easton Greenwich, EMT of CBPH, and then Fort Edward. We'll do those three agencies now. We'll approve those.
Okay, I make a motion for a 2-year renewal.
2-year renewal. We have one motion. Anybody second?
I'll second.
All
I
those in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody opposed? I do not hear any votes for opposed, so those are renewed. So that is Easton, EMT of CBPH, and Fort Edward. So then we'll defer Keene Valley,
We'll do a 3-month extension.
3-month extension.
Yep.
Keene Valley, Foothills, ECH, not Westport, and Fort Covington.
Yep.
So defer those for next month or next meeting, 3 months. All in favor? Or sorry, do I hear
Yeah, make the motion.
a motion, second?
I'm
Yeah,
good.
all right. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I don't hear any opposition. Those are those are extended, so now we'll go to Skeensboro. We will do a 1-year renewal. Are we calling it a renewal or extension? Renewal, okay. 1-year renewal for Skeensboro. Do we have
We did a motion.
motion to approve?
Yeah.
Can I make a motion? I can make a motion, right?
Sure, have Dr. Gurley make the motion.
You want me to make the motion? Okay, yeah, I'll make the motion. Perfect.
I'll make the
Right.
motion. Let's approve
Yeah,
Gainsborough.
don't say it.
Cat seconds, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? No? Okay, so we have extended Skeensboro, renewed Skeensboro for 1 year. Okay, Westport,
We
We
didn't
will-
receive anything and their MD's not here.
so we will give them a 3-month extension. Okay, I should have done them as well, but whatever, all right. Make a motion, I make a motion to defer or extend Westport for 3 months. Anybody second?
Yep. I'll
Second.
Dr. Gurling, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? None, so we have extended Westports as well. Okay. New applications, doesn't seem like we have any, is that correct, Jonathan? Correct. Okay. All right, who's doing the
Yep.
BLS updates?
That's
So that
me.
one there, that was, yep, Paul Smith, and they're going with Dr. Pump.
So this is one of the many ambulance or services up here that has been waffling around for the past at least 4 or 5 years without anybody other than sometimes people signing paperwork. I spoke with them and I'm going to end up probably moving. Tupper Lake has also approached me. because they can't get anybody from the hospital to take responsibility. So I'm going to work with these folks and probably try to move them to E-Town QA so that they're in a system. I've also spoke with Saranac Lake, which last account didn't have a medical director either, which is part of my reasons that I will discuss this with Dr. Rogers to get on board and get to our meetings. So hence my little speech. So they're all set.
Just FYI, Saranac Lake has come to E-Town's QA/QI program.
Good. No medical director though. No service medical director.
I am not aware of one.
Yeah.
If you can have Pepper and Paul Smith, when you get done talking to them, reach out to me. That would be great.
Are you taking charge of that now, Patty?
Dr. Mulvey is certainly in charge, but Lisa Fish and myself are her minions that are doing the QA/QI process right now.
Oh, I love minions. Okay, so that'll work. I will get them in touch with your minion.
Thank you.
I don't know if we need to vote on that, but if we do, I'm good.
I see no need to vote.
Just the change of medical director.
Okay.
Up to you.
I don't feel a need to vote. Anybody feel a need to vote?
No.
No, okay. All right. So it looks like the next up is the QA reports. Anybody from Alice Hyde want to give us their report? I don't hear anybody from Alice Hyde, so I'm going to move on to Clinton County. Anybody from Clinton County? I don't hear anybody, so I'm going to move on to ECH. Anybody
So,
want to do? I'm sorry.
Yep. So that's okay. Sorry. So ECH has revamped their QA/QI a little bit. We're doing it just a little bit of a different way. Still looking at the data. We have split up between Lisa and myself the agencies under Dr. Mulvey's review, and we have our first QA/QI. I think it's the 29th or something like that. Looking at the last quarter. Our major topics are stroke, because that's a really large topic here at the hospital. Major trauma, controlled substances, and gosh, there's another one, I think, maybe cardiac arrest. But anyway, so it's going well, and the agencies are definitely on board. So we should have more data at the next meeting for you guys.
All right. Thank you. Glens Falls, at our last meeting in December, we had a stroke update from our stroke program. Dr. Brayman and Cassie Moore came in and gave us a good review of stroke recognition and areas to facilitate EMS and hospital communication regarding stroke issues. So that was helpful. The thing that we're gonna work on in the next few weeks is I'm not sure if anybody up north heard about the bus that crashed on the Northway near Warrensburg. It was a tourist bus, and there were 20 odd passengers involved. One died on scene, several injured. About 12 showed up to Albany or to Glens Falls for evaluation. So we're going to be reviewing that response. There were a number of agencies involved, so we're going to try to get them together to review the process. There were a lot of good things that happened and some things that very much need review and improvement. So that's going to be the next step in our QA process. But it was a great case, and hopefully we'll maybe do some sort of report back to the group after we've gone through our process. North Country.
Yeah, and we continue to meet and do educational case reviews. Nothing exciting to report, but we've been having our meetings.
All right. Tri-Lakes,
I'll talk about Tri-Lakes. There is no Tri-Lakes. This has been going on in one of my pet peeves for a while. And so I am probably going to I'm going to move my ambulances and services out of there. If I take that over, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's an issue because part of the QA process is what shows up in the ED and actually get to see that what the paramedics and folks thought was actually the case when it gets played out. And there's been no data coming out of that hospital for at least 5 years to review with these services, other than maybe a rubber stamp from some doc to get through our process without QA. I think that REMAC needs to step up here and approach the hospital so that we can at least get PCRs and info from somebody there, a contact person. So I think we need,
what hospital is that, Mike?
that's Adirondack Health,
Okay.
Saranac Lake. It is the hospital that takes all the patients here, and it's non-participating in anything. You cannot call up there and find out what went on with a patient without jumping through hoops, much less trying to get what happened with this patient or PCR. And this has been years now. I mean, this is, they need to, they're a huge part of the other side of EMS care, which is just non-participating. I will speak with Rogers about it. I don't think there's anything else to say on that.
Okay. Did you have a case that you want to discuss?
Let me just run this case by you. This is now 8 months, well, from July 3rd old. I get case, PCRs and cases handed to me from EMS. One, I review all deaths. So I was given this PCR, and I'll give you, and this is to the docs per se, because I've talked to Tiffany about this till I've turned blue, as well as everybody else, as you'll see. Basically, it's a 50-year-old white female whose past medical history on the PCR is some anxiety and hypotension, no other medications whatsoever, was found in full arrest in an apartment unwitnessed. They ran an entire code there through medical control out at Adirondack Health, who, I've already discussed. And the gist of it is they called it in the field. And that's actually the entire chart that I have. So when I go to review this, I want the death certificate because I'd like to know what the person died from. And it turns out that she's out of state, just visiting Lake Placid. And I can't get the death certificate because the coroner tells me that I've got to go through the coroner's physician. I don't know, I think probably Glens Falls. Do you guys have a medical examiner in Queensbury?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Plattsburgh does too. Well, the Essex County hires coroners who act as not medical examiners because they have to have a coroner's physician assigned to them. But the coroner's physician in this case is from Essex County and he's paid. So when I try to get a death certificate, I'm told I can't get it. I've got to go through all this process. So I end up speaking to the director of Essex County EMS. I'm then directed that the coroners don't report to them, they report to the district attorney. So I have hours of requests from the district attorney to get both the doctor who of record who said no autopsy needs to get done, and the death certificate. I get told the death certificate is died of coronary causes, something to that effect, with no medical history at 50, which may be the case, but then I think at least an autopsy should have been done. I have suspicions that this isn't getting done for economic reasons. I talked to the district attorney till I turned blue requesting this, to the director in, Patty, who's the EMS emergency service director in Essex County, blanking on her name.
The direct, oh, you mean Department of Health is Linda Beers?
Yep. Yep. So I talked to Linda Beers because supposedly the coroners go to them. I talked to Essex County EMS person. I talked to the Department of Health, our representatives here. And in fact, I left, I don't know how many messages with the Department of EMS in Albany, and finally got a call back from, I think, Ryan something or other, who's the head of it, and said, well, sometimes you just can't get stuff. So I'm glad to just leave this where it is. However, I think that as a service medical director, if I want a death certificate to review a case, and I think this case should be questioned, because as far as I'm concerned, somebody poisoned this person. So maybe I'm taking this all too far. You docs can tell me that, maybe I should just leave it at 50-year-old and anxiety and hypotension and died of an arrest, and that's it, and I can't get anything else, because that's the case.
Sounds like a good true crime podcast you could start.
I never have had a problem getting a death certificate, nor speaking to a physician with regard to why. I mean, this coroner's physician paid for by Essex County may actually have good reason to say it was a coronary death and there's past medical history missing. But without that, this person should have had an autopsy in my mind. And this is not the first case that I've seen this happen on. Does anybody disagree that there should have at least?
No, I mean, yeah, it sounds like a suspicious case enough that we would have asked for an autopsy from our ED. I mean, I guess the question is like, this sounds like a systems failure, and you're fighting a very difficult system there. I'm not sure how much traction you're ever going to get without changing the entire system. Are you just looking for the death certificate from a follow-up for feedback for the cardiac arrest care? Just to see if.
I'd like a death certificate to know what this got written off as and why an autopsy wasn't done on a 50-year-old with that history, because either there's other history or this person needed an autopsy, especially being unknown in the area. So, had I been the ED director, I would have requested it. So I don't understand how it cannot get done in the field with a coroner.
I don't know.
And I tried to request a death certificate, so I'm not even aware of the process, but it does sound very suspicious.
Certainly sounds suspicious enough that would warrant, in any other situation, it would have warranted a autopsy. I don't know what power we have to kind of force the issue, though. It sounds, I mean, I don't know how you get around not doing an autopsy, to be honest, but.
Yeah, well, that was my impression exactly, because I actually thought it was done. It was so straightforward that it was for me like, where's the, what, where's the, no autopsy? What, how's that possible? And that's how it started.
Yeah.
So I don't know what we do with it, but I've complained to everybody I can complain to. I think whether we can request, actually request it, I don't know, but here's my point. I don't care about spending these kind of hours doing quality assurance that I'm required to do. And this is exactly what I told the EMS director, Ryan Greenberg, or whatever his name is. Why should I spend 20 hours chasing this shit around if you're not going to give it to me? There's no point. I'll just say, okay, 50-year-old died, coded, code looks great. Okay, bye, end of QA. That's my point.
Yeah, I think there's two issues. One, yeah, you're kind of limited from an EMS standpoint. Yeah, that's your hands are tied. From a system standpoint, yeah, it should have been better. I'm not sure what power we have other than, the moral obligation to kind of make sure things like this get followed up. I think, having the district attorney listen to a REMAC is going to be very difficult to have them, listen to what we have to say. But I mean, I certainly can't disagree with you in any sense. I mean, you're kind of pulled in two directions. You have to do the QA, and you can QA the code, and I'm sure they did everything perfectly fine. But as to why the patient died, my guess is that you're never gonna know. I mean, this is I can't explain why they didn't do an autopsy. I don't know who made that decision, how it wasn't questioned, and what holes this fell through that landed you in this position. But yeah, it's
Well, I know exactly who made the decision. Some paid for Essex County coroner's physician who doesn't live in the area, who, I asked to have call me 10 times, and I got no call back from. I actually think that the Essex County is responsible for this. They pay for autopsies, so I don't know if there's motivation for not getting them. And I won't say that as a accusation, but this is not the first time. And I think that as an EMS medical director looking into an ambulance's quality assurance for running a code, we should know what the death certificate showed. And if there was not an autopsy done, I think that we should have at least an explanation as to why. That's my position on it.
I think we should. I agree. I think if you want it, you should be able to get it. Whether we have the power to make that happen, I think is probably outside of our scope.
How about we just leave it at this, because I'm done with this QA. I'm just sick of it. I think we should send a letter requesting the death certificate and the coroner's physician's name.
Sure.
And they can just ignore us if they choose to.
Yeah. I have no problem
So,
getting that together.
so I would send that to Dan Manning, the county attorney, and also CC that to Sean Gilliland, the county chairperson.
County chairperson is the chair of the supervisors.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I think that should go out from, I mean, if all the physicians agree with me, I think that should go out from REMAC to them. And I think it should be CC'd to the state of New York, who's ever in charge of us doing quality assurance.
Sounds reasonable.
Yep, sounds fair enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Jonathan, you're gonna draft something up to get sent out?
Yep, I'll work on it this week. I probably will have it to you Monday for everyone.
So Jonathan, I can give you the info on the patient's name and date.
Okay, I can, are you free tomorrow? I can give you a call and get all that stuff. Okay,
Yep.
I'll give you a call.
Thank you.
Jonathan, just to save you some time, it's P.O. Box 217, Elizabethtown, New York.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Mike. I mean, that was an interesting case. Yeah, I've never had to go down that path, but I hope you get your resolution.
Trust me, it's a waste of time.
Are we gonna do an air medical report?
I believe we got someone here from Air Methods. Andrew?
Was that?
I think both agencies have.
Hey, everybody. This is Andrew with LifeNet in New York. I don't have anything prepared for you. I'm more than happy to answer any questions if you have them. Our call volume has been increasing during the ski season, and we've had better weather in the last 30 days than we have in November, December for sure.
And then Danielle Goodrich and myself are here for HealthNet if there's any other questions or interesting topics of any concern.
I don't think anybody has any questions. All right, thank you, guys. We'll move on. Education and course sponsors, you did that already, Jonathan, right?
So we had the upcoming courses and the current courses running just because we get notifications on those, so those were in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have any of the actual course sponsor reps on with us. Hamilton County is a new one. They're a newer course sponsor. They're gonna be doing a class in Luzerne. So that's why they're now added onto our list kind of thing, because now they're doing a class in our area. Otherwise, I think they're all just kind of plugging away as usual.
Next, old business.
Nothing really new. Conflict of interest and whistleblower, we have to do those every year. So I'll follow up again with those that I haven't heard back from. We did get a bunch back after the last meeting. And then our annual meeting is in May, so then after May, we'll have to just do them all again anyway. So just keep that in mind. FD guidelines,
Two guidelines?
a bunch of,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. To do, but, yeah.
to do, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the new guidelines, I think, is this the last batch that we're gonna review? Or is there one more?
No, there'll be at least one more large
Okay.
batch coming up.
Okay.
The
Were
last
there
batch
any
will only
issues?
be like 5 or 6 of them though. We're pretty close to the end.
So there's quite a few. So this time there's 22. So for December, we have, it looks like difficulty breathing for adult and pediatric.
High flow nasal cannula, non-invasive positive pressure ventilation. I'm not sure what PE is referring to, physical,
Pulmonary embolism.
oh, it is PE, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the transport of a known PE.
Gotcha.
Post intubation, vent management. Let's see, then we have some for January. Diabetic adult and pediatric, hyperkalemia adult, seizures adult and peds, stroke for adult. And January, the second set. Adult and pediatric meds, hyperthermia, hypothermia, newborn care, obstetric care, overdose and poisoning, shock sepsis for adult and pediatric. So there's 22 in total. They were all in the drive. For you
And I
guys to look
believe
at.
Dr. Bombard sent them out beforehand as well.
Yeah, over the last 3 months, she sent off, because we've been submitting them in those monthly batches and would send them out monthly.
Do we have a quorum? Do you need me to vote on anything anymore? Because I got to
Just
sign
these
off.
guidelines.
Yeah. I think
Besides
this-
the guidelines.
Okay.
And then
So can we, do we have any concerns? Anybody want to discuss any of the guidelines?
I have no concerns with them. I've gone through these. They seem very straightforward, unambiguous, and seem to be standard care for all these. So I've got no issues. I know there was some online discussion and there were, again, no other issues were raised on that, so they look well done. I'm certainly happy to forward a motion, but people need any more discussion?
Yeah, I didn't review all of them. I did review some of them, and from what I saw, they were all, thorough and pretty standard, so. I don't think we're gonna see anything out of the ordinary. Anybody have any other concerns, or can we move to a motion to approve? All right, Dr.
So
Gurling.
forward the motion.
Yeah, Dr. Gurling, motion to approve. Anybody second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor of approving?
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay.
Anybody opposed to approving? Nobody opposes, so we have approved these protocols.
Okay, I gotta
Okay.
sign off. Does anybody else, do you need me for anything else?
I think that was
I think that's it. I think we can, why don't we just have a motion to adjourn now? Mike, you want
Okay.
a motion? Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Gurley,
So,
second.
yeah.
All right, thank you, guys.